Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. This is the most important thing you can listen to today.
Would you like to join us? Now, what do I mean? Robert Kiyosaki, who endorses the show every day, from Rich Dad Poor Dad, wrote all about owning cash flow assets. And he summarizes that down to two things: real estate and businesses. He says both are where wealth generation is created, and preservation. So we have a fund right now available called Capital H5 that does just that, does two things. It has an incredible asset behind it, 400 acres, a mile plus of waterfront, incredible structures, and numerous revenue streams with an operating business. We'd love to have you check it out. Visit accountableequity.com/fund.
It's the one.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I could do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella story out of nowhere.
It's in the hole. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Welcome back to the big show. Josh McCallan here with my extremely incredible talented host, John Edwin.
Oh, you are so kind. You are the talent, buddy. Guys, we often talk about the guys that we interview, and we're about to do that. But I will say that listening to this podcast, I am honored to be on with the talented Josh McCallan, because he asks questions that don't even come to mind for me. So cute. The information that you gain from his questions are simply extraordinary. And
that's very kind, because Brad Mullen did it. Yeah. Brad Mullen brought the heat today.
Brad's a good friend of ours. The guy is an amazing human being, and he really brought some awesome knowledge in different areas.
That's true. He's a, sometimes people call these gentlemen and ladies serial entrepreneurs, but I never find that to be a positive expression. But I think there's got to be a better expression when you talked about Brad, because we got to know Brad through, GoBundance. So many good people John and I have met there. But I also met him because he was a generous soul. He came to one of our charity golf outings and helped out the children in need of adoption. And he was very kind, he and Beth. So I've forever will be indebted to him for all the work he did to help us. But he also, he's just a real role model for everybody who wants to see the world differently. What I loved about his story, John, was his grandfather had a small business, and he knew he wanted to take it over. So he designed his college career so he could help join his grandfather's business. That's very cool. Yeah. But later left after he finished doing what he promised to do. He started two other great businesses, to the point where he's like a multidisciplinary entrepreneur. And one of the things we talked a lot about is being able to build a platform. Once you learn how to build a business, then you start to say, how else can I serve these people? And of all the things he's done, from house flipping to real estate, I was so curious about the medical billing practice and medical revenue creation that he does for doctors.
Yeah, it was cool how he his significant other is Beth, and she's like really, really talented in that space, but just didn't want to take the leap. So I'm not going to give it away, but you'll listen how she actually took the leap into becoming a business owner with Brad.
The way he explains this is what we try to get across a lot of times in the show, is that human capital, when you see it, when you either you have it, or a teammate has it, or a colleague, or an investment partner you can invest in, there's so many great things that can come when you invest in other people's talent. And I think he did a great job with that. And I think the future is very bright. So you're going to dig in, and we're going to enjoy this show together. Brad, can't wait to hear you, buddy.
Let's go.
I'm excited about having Brad Mullen on the show, John. Thank you for recruiting the world famous Brad Mullen and having him on the big show.
Absolutely. It's Brad 3.0, and Brad has become a good friend of ours, and we're really excited to have you on our show, Brad. Can you give us a little bit of your background?
Yeah, I'm located in northeastern PA, I guess it's considered, about an hour and 45 minutes northwest of Philly, 30 minutes directly west of Allentown. And I own several small businesses in my local community. I started in investments. I was a finance major in college. I knew that when I graduated, I was going to have the opportunity to take over my grandfather's small investment firm, which I did. And after a few years of doing that, I realized it's not what I wanted to do. So I ended up selling that. I had a client that I would meet with every so often to go over his portfolio. And I handled his 401k for his company. And we talk about his asset allocation. And, we'd spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes talking about that. And then another hour talking about his real estate holdings, and kind of piqued my interest. I'm like, this real estate gig seems like a lot more interesting than what I'm doing. So I ended up, his name is Joe Schaufstall, and I tell him every time I see him that he created this monster. I ended up buying my first property in 2007. It was a flip, and the money I made on that, I bought 3 more, and that's kind of how I got started. And then the bottom fell out of the market, and I didn't do anything for a while. I actually sold my investment business, was going through a divorce, got real cynical about a lot of things in life, was going to join the military and just get out of Dodge. It never happened. And I was still flipping houses, just, one at a time, do most of it myself. And I had a friend that moved back from New Orleans that was in construction. And we got to talking, and I'm like, man, I wish I could just do this full time. At the time I took a corporate job with Deca Battery as a financial analyst, building their divisional P&L. And I pretty much completed that project and knew the corporate world just wasn't my jam at all. I had to get back to something more entrepreneurial. And he was like, just quit your job, man. We'll just start this construction company, and we'll do flips when we're not busy in the winter. We'll keep our guys busy. Very carefree individual. And, we're pretty much yin and yang, him and I, in that regards. But I quit my job, got my real estate license before I quit my job, because I just thought we were going to do all these flips together. And I was kind of fed up with my experience working with realtors. I just felt like I worked with a bunch of door openers most of the time, and they didn't bring a whole lot of value to the table. And I got my real estate license, was all excited about this new venture, and it didn't go the way I planned at all. We're still friends, but we amicably decided to go different directions. And I left the construction world and had my real estate license with nothing left to do. So I had a friend call me around that time. He's like, hey, I want to buy a house. I know that you're involved in real estate. He didn't know I had my real estate license, but he knew I was investing and flipping and whatnot. So I said, yeah, sure. Here's someone you can call that can show you houses. I didn't even think of representing anyone else at that point. And like an hour later, I called them back and I said, hey, I have my real estate license. I can show you houses. And that's how it started. It was, I think it was a $60,000 house. That was my first real estate sale. And then I decided this is going to be my full-time thing. And then my first 6 months, I did $2 million in sales. And I think last year we did almost 50 million.
Nice.
Finishing year 9. So I went from just me to having more business that I could handle, to hiring one person to help me out, making her my buyer's agent. And then we still had more business than we could handle. And then we hired more office staff. And now I have 15 people that work on my team right now. So that's my story and how I got involved in real estate. It all happened because I sat across the table with Joe Schaufstall, and he shared what he was doing in real estate, and a light bulb just went on in my head.
And what was your New Orleans friend's name?
His name's Dan Fetzer. He lives in Mississippi right now, still doing construction, doing pretty well from what I understand. Very talented guy. More talented than most people in that field. And I think he was frustrated with me because on the job site, I couldn't keep up with him. And on the business side, we had kind of like an inverse relationship there. It was just just didn't work for whatever reason, but I'm glad we're still good friends, even though we're far apart. But yeah,
Brad,
I've had multiple partners since then too. So I've actually done pretty well on the partnership side. Some people struggle with that, but right now I have 4 or 5 partners in different businesses, and I'm grateful for that.
I love the story that you told your friend to call another agent when you had your license, and then thought about it, called him back and said, I can help you out. That's a great story. What was the moment of, because I think a lot of people want to maybe leave their W-2, but they feel like they're handcuffed. What was the moment for you where you were like, you know what, I'm burning the ships?
I was making at that point, it wasn't a lot. And I'm thinking to myself, I have a double major, college degree, business administration and finance. And here I am making, 50, 60,000 a year. And I just knew that there was no way that was my trajectory in life, was to slowly work my way up a corporate ladder. It just didn't felt right for me. It just wasn't my passion. Just punching a clock, I just couldn't do it. And that was the only 2 years in my whole adult life, actually, that I had a W-2. So when I came out of college, I was self-employed. I was a 1099 independent contractor, basically, for an investment firm until I took it over. But it was all on me to produce. And it didn't matter how hard I worked in that corporate environment. I was basically tied to a cubicle.
Yeah.
I wasn't going where I knew I could go.
So Brad, I want to I'll summarize some cool lessons that I've already picked up. And that is, first of all, you had a vision during college that you would be buying your grandfather's business. So that probably kind of changed your perspective even in college. How did your grandfather feel when you took it over, and how's he doing now? Is he still with us?
He actually sadly passed away this year. He would have been 88 last week, but he was on his way out of that business. And he actually came to me, I forget what year it was. It was like October, maybe 2015 or 14. And he said, I'm retiring at the end of the year. Do you want to take over my business? And I was like, what? Well, it's like 2 months from now. And I did. We made it happen. I didn't have any money. I probably still owe money for it to this point, but I took it over, and I switched to a fee-based practice, kind of changed the business a little bit. When I was ready to be out of there. I'm sorry, I'm way ahead of, this was 2005, not 2015. 2000. Oh, okay. Yeah, 2005. 2008, I was already ready to go into real estate full time or do something different. And then the market crashed, and I could not leave my clients at that time.
That's right.
I thought that would look really bad. So as much as I knew that wasn't my future, I cared about the people that put their trust in me. And I hung on for another 2 years and slowly transitioned somebody else into my role to take that over. And then I left. I've learned, that my finance background and my experience in flipping houses and my experience with running a construction remodeling company, all those things have basically primed me for excelling in real estate.
I agree with that.
I can go into a house and I can build a house from the ground up. My brain can't tell my hands how to do it, but I know everything, every step along the way, and I know what I'm looking at. So when I go into, when I would go into a house with a potential buyer, I was a wealth of resource to actually know what I was looking at and could advise them on, on things that I've saw potential issues and stuff like that. So, and I kind of knew what it cost to do things. If they're like, well, we hate this kitchen, but we, don't know if we can afford to put a new one in. I'm like, well, I actually know how much it's going to cost. So, it's a good resource there.
So, Brad, you had mentioned that you got into real estate and you were flipping properties. So I have a few questions here for you. How many properties did you flip in the beginning? And then I know you're also holding quite a bit of real estate. When was the transition for you where you're like, okay, I'm flipping these properties, I'm getting great seed money, but it probably makes more sense to hold real estate and let that equity build and build the passive income. So how many properties did you flip? How many are you holding now? And where was the transition from flipping to holding?
That's a tough question. I would, in the beginning, I probably maybe flipped a dozen or so. It wasn't a whole lot. Now I'm, up until this year, I was doing 10 to 12 at a time. Right now I'm just trying to get what I have on my plate off my plate. I'm not really looking for anything new at the moment, but I don't know. I just look at property by property. If it made more sense to hold it, I would hold it. If it made more sense to flip it, I would flip it. I didn't have a set metric that I went by, but if I could get more cash flow, in a few months than I could in holding it for 10 years, I think I would get rid of it. It made more sense to me to do that at that time. And now my outlook on what I buy is totally different. I'm not even, if it's not going to change my life, I'm not interested in it. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's a good place to be.
That's my litmus test for if I get involved in anything new. Is it going to change my life, or is it going to change the life of others, in a positive way? And if it's not going to do that, I'm not interested.
I like it. I like that approach. How many units are you currently holding?
I think about 90.
90 units. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great.
I have partners on a lot of those. I might own 40 on my own, but I have partners on the rest. Yeah.
That's great. And then you own a few other businesses too, right? You got into laundromats. What got you into that business?
So this isn't that exciting. It was just a piece of real estate that I wanted for years and I could never buy because it had over $1 million in liens on it. And it was probably only worth maybe 300 at the time. I might have overpaid for it a little bit, but I paid about 300 for it, I think. And I tried to get a tax sale for years and it never went because all the liens it was just too messy. And then the bank called me and said, hey, we got this cleaned up. If you want to buy it, we want to sell it. So I bought that and I made a deal with them on another one. I said, well, if you're going to sell me this one, I want this one too. It was a laundromat that was owned by two laundromats that were owned by the same guy. And they cut me a good deal on the other one too. So they were a mess. They were an absolute wreck. I had no idea how they were going to pan out, as if it's going to be a good investment or a bad investment. I knew I wanted that real estate. Came with a 4-unit apartment building that also needs a complete renovation, but we ended up buying it and tore the whole thing apart, all new equipment, redid the whole inside. It's beautiful. It's probably the nicest laundromat.
You bought a lawnmower.
Yeah. Now I own a Walmart.
No.
Probably the nicest laundromat in 20 miles at least. And I'm not sure yet if it's going to be a great investment or not. It's picking up speed every month. It makes a little bit more money. It costs about $500,000 probably between the renovation and the equipment. So that time will tell. I'm not jumping up into the other one yet. This is going to be the same project. Another 400 to 450,000 probably. It's a little smaller. But again, that comes back to, is it going to change my life? If I invest, another 400,000 into this project, I don't know. And I'm not ready to do that yet. So right now I'm just sitting on the real estate. It's not costing me much. I bought it for $32,000. So
there is a laundromat on it that has the doors locked. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's closed.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a disaster. I mean, everything needs to be redone in it. So, but if this other one proves itself over time, maybe I'll spend the money on the other one.
And I want to just dig in a couple more things. One, we have to thank Joe Shortstall, I think is how you say
Joe
his name.
Schaafstall. Yeah. He
Schaafstall.
probably doesn't want me dropping his name, but
Oh, so sorry about that. We won't
all
mention
right.
his name anymore.
I'm selling a house for him right now. Actually, now I'm his realtor. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. So I love hearing a couple things. One, realtors typically don't become investors. So I think some of that goes back to your mindset all the way in college that you thought you were going to own a business soon. You end up doing that. You accomplish that. I like the fact that if you were to sit down and be a mentor to someone, you could teach them how to buy a business, probably how to sell a business, especially financial services. But it looks like that's not part of your future, maybe. What is the future, Brad? Because I mean, your credentials are construction, and it looked like you bought a construction company or built one pragmatically so you could be a great flipper because you believed in the investing side. That's even a nice mindset. That's kind of how I see it. You know what I mean? That's like the you 2 wins for every dollar you're spending there. You build a construction company, now you get better opportunities for flips. You're a broker in real estate or now you have your own brokerage, but I don't necessarily know that that's your whole story going forward. It's just part of your machine you've built. You've built an empire. You have different cash flow businesses. I know you even own something else you haven't talked about, medical billing business. That before we go all the way to the end of your story, how did you get into medical billing practice? Whatever the name of that business is.
So I wouldn't be in that business if it wasn't for Beth.
Okay.
We've been together 13 years, and I've seen her excel in that business, and she probably doesn't realize that I paid attention to when she'd come home from work and download everything that she's going through at work. But I just realized over the years her talent, and I always felt that it wasn't put to the best use. She loves what she does. She's really good at it, and I've probably for a couple of years, I'm like, you should just do this for yourself. Like, you work like you own the place, but you don't. And you don't get paid like you own the place. And she's like, no, I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't like taking risks. I love what I do. I'm just a good worker. And that's who I am. It's who I'm going to stay. And I was like, well, maybe I'll own the business and you'll come work for me. And we ended up having an opportunity. Well, she had the opportunity actually. And I said, here's your chance to really make something special here. I said, quit your job. I'll pay your salary out of my own cash flow. She was approached by a large ENT group that had some issues with their accounts receivable and their revenue cycle management, and they needed help. And she was referred by somebody else. And we ended up taking them on as a client. I started this company. She was my first employee. Then we hired somebody else that she used to work with that left to go work for somebody else for a while. And then we came on. I matched her salary as well. I knew that the talent that she had was worth investing in. Yes. And I look for that now, like in people, like where can I find talent that I can leverage to create opportunities for other people and myself, and invest time and money into that. And it exploded. We were moving to our 3rd location in less than 2 years. We've outgrown 2 already.
Wow.
And
awesome.
we have 15 employees, and and it's all referral based. She phone just started ringing really when she left.
What's the name of that company?
Client First RCM.
What a great name.
Yeah. And we built that name around kind of our ethos. So that's something that she felt was lacking in the business. And we wanted it to make it, the forefront of what we did. And, these doctors go to work every day to be healers, and no fault of their own. A lot of them aren't great on the business end.
Sure.
And we handle the revenue cycle management for their businesses and make sure they get paid for the work that they do. So
does she also, that, like when you say revenue cycle, does that include the governmental payment as well as
Yeah,
the
I mean, we deal with
Medicare?
Medicare, Medicaid, all the major insurance companies. So we're the intermediary between the doctors and the surgery centers and insurance companies. So they go do their work. They give us their either an op report. We can code it if they don't code, but we have 4 or 5 certified coders on our team. But we can code the surgeries. We can bill it correctly to the insurance company so they get paid.
So good.
And we do contract negotiation with the insurance company. So every doctor has a contract with the insurers on their pay scale of what they get paid. We negotiate that. We make sure they stay credentialed with all the insurances that they work with. We handle their accounts receivable, the follow-up, the denials. I mean, the insurance business it's quite a game. And my girls know how to play it. I think we have 15 employees, and the average experience is 17 years.
Come on.
That's
amazing. And you know what we call that? Human capital,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think what you're saying is you saw how talented Beth was. And I got to meet Beth a few times when you visited with us, Brad. And I can see what you mean. She's a woman who has, she doesn't always, she's probably not going out there business developing. She's probably still waters run deep, like with my wife. She'd rather just be a part of the room instead of jumping up and speaking. But boy, you can trust her. And I think that's probably why you built all around her talent.
Yeah,
That's
she's
awesome.
a bit timid, but man, if you get her sitting down with a surgeon or a doctor to talk about their revenue cycle, I mean, she'll blow their mind.
That's awesome.
I've seen it many times. It's pretty neat to watch.
Does she quarterback the negotiation with the insurance company, or who on the team does that? Beth?
Yeah, she does that. Yeah, that's her thing.
All right, we're gonna have to get Beth on this big show, John, because that's a heck of a business you guys are in. And do you think there's a future in that business? Are you going to let it grow, maybe 5 times what it is now, or is this where you want it to be manageable?
No, we want to grow it. Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, we're just getting started. We've done zero advertising.
Well, we have a lot of doctors that invest with us, listen to this show. Is this something they should reach out to you about? Because I'm telling you, we'd
love to have a conversation with them. Yeah.
Give the URL again. I'm sure there's a website.
That's funny. We don't have a website. It's like 90% done. I just ran into my website developer at a networking thing last week, and I said, "Listen, Josh," I said, "We're getting this website done by the end of the year." I said, "I promise." So it doesn't have to be.
It's one of those things.
100% perfect, and I'm like, if it's not perfect, I'm not putting it out there. And he's like, "Let's just get it out there." Yeah. So we haven't needed it. I mean, we've just been referral after referral. So we just signed 2 new orthopedic surgeons in the last 6 weeks or so, and they just came from other orthopedic surgeons. So that's what we specialize in, kind of. I would say 40 to 50% of our business might be orthopedics and physical therapy. So
I want to ask you a question, Brad, since this is a real dive on capital hacking, and this is just what's great about this show, John. Not that we are all specialists in medical practice, medical billing like you are, but you know what it gives you access to? And this is just the way I try to think out loud. It gives you access to who might want to sell their practice. And there's hundreds of people out there who would want to buy that practice. You should almost build a division of mergers, acquisitions out there.
There's things going through my head about that. There's a lot of things I'm thinking about. I mean, I love building ancillary businesses too. Like I have a title company that's fed by my brokerage. It's a great relationship. So it's I love those kind of ideas.
I love it so much that that you should make a little, my friend, we've always had Richard Wilson on the show, who's the world's best at predicting a URL that it'd be part of a business that he's already running that later he'll use. So I'm picturing medical practice for sale or surgical centers for sale.
I gotta get on there and buy that now.
You should buy those or something like that. So
I thought about starting an educational company too, where we can teach doctors how to maximize their revenues and then how to invest those in stuff like accountable equity and things like that. So
it's true. You're around an epicenter of numerous benefits. You could be a benefit to those doctors. They could be a benefit to you. I'm not kidding. What an interesting tangent that you built. You built this as a tangent to support the talent of your lovely lady, but it probably, with your mind and your ability to tag, like you said, accretive value add services, I'm looking forward to a big future. Like for you in real estate, why not help them buy some real estate? Because there's nothing better that a bank wants to loan on than a medical surgical center or a medical practice. You could broker some deals, buy some practices, own the building. There's so many cool tangents you could create from this.
Yeah, my guess is there's only probably one or two of our doctors that even know that I'm involved in real estate, unless they Googled me.
Yeah.
Maybe they could find that out, but it's not something I've talked about with anybody. So,
Brad, this is really, I mean, it's really exciting, all the different things that you're doing. And we know that you've been awesome with the company that you've worked with, Realty Mark Associates, and now you're doing something very, very exciting. Can you shed a little light on what you're currently doing there?
Yeah, so we're opening up a new brokerage. Mullen Realty Associates is the new name. I know it's a horrible name if I'm going to sell it. Everyone says, well, you shouldn't have your name in there if you're going to sell it. I don't really build anything with the idea that I'm going to sell it. That could be an error on my part. But that's not why I do what I do. At some point, maybe I'll cross that bridge. But I couldn't think of anything else that wasn't cheesy or already used. And my name in this area, people recognize it because of the amount of real estate transactions that I do. So I wanted to use that to its fullest advantage, and it worked out for Gary Keller. So,
by the way, in real estate brokerage, I think names of the person or the driving team leader, it is kind of a different industry, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, of all the industries, that one probably a name works, even though the first thing I was thinking is, boy, it would be nice if it had a different name. But in your market, like you said, real estate's local, man. That'll speed up a lot of transactions. So it's a smart idea.
So I built a really high performing team, and I'm going to keep running that team inside my brokerage. But and I'd like to help other people, if they feel like they're at the point in their career where they want to get a team behind them. I want to be able to help them do the same thing that I did. So that could be a neat little niche for my brokerage to go after.
And what's next? You know what I mean? I don't know if you need anything more, but it sounds like you're investing a lot of energy in the new brokerage. You already are going to buy. You're always going to buy deals from your brokerage, right? That's also another tangent. Value.
Yeah, I mean, I need to buy, something, I think, every year, or invest money somewhere, just because I don't want to get murdered in taxes. I was lucky enough to buy about $3 million in Florida real estate in 2020. 21, 22, end of 21, beginning of 22. So we cost seg that, which has been great. This year I bought a commercial property, 2 commercial properties actually, where we're moving all my offices to central location. Good. In a large 10-unit building. I'll cost seg that. But every year I gotta find something to put money into so I can take advantage of the tax code.
I'll tell you what, can we just explain that for a second? So we came up with a talk, and if you want the talk, you can click us at Accountable Equity. We'll get you. It's called the Golden Carousel. And what Brad just teased you guys who are new to commercial real estate is it's a mind bender, right? That the IRS code was built so that if you continue to invest in the economy, locally, buildings and whatever, somehow that is highly incentivized. That's why there's tax breaks for that. Yeah. But if you're on the other side and you're Brad, if he just designs once a year a strategic acquisition, even though he's going to use some debt, he'll get a write-off even for some of the debt portion, which will offset his cash flow liability of tax. And he could stay on this golden carousel where I always say, like, it's like the horses are going up and down the value of each property, but you just got to add a horse every year. And then there'll be the down for the depreciation, which he's using a cost segregation. Then there'll be the up on appreciation. And then next year you need to buy another horse and another horse. You just need to make a gigantic carousel. And you're going to be following the tax code perfectly, by the way. So anyway, what a concept. Not everybody understands it. So I just wanted to give you a little, quickly. He's like, I got to buy real estate to pay less taxes. That's a surprise to most people, Brad. Is that what Joe taught you at first? Is that why you caught your attention?
No, I don't, we never had those conversations. I would just, I would just look at the numbers of, the returns that he would get on what I was providing for him, and the cash flow that he could get on some of his investment properties. And I was just looking at the spread there, and I was like, well, this doesn't make sense. I mean, I know you should be allocated and spread. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, which that's what they preach. I don't actually believe that. But I just doubled down on real estate. I walked away from the investment world. I don't own a single stock, a single mutual fund, nothing. Everything I have is invested in either businesses or real estate, and I'm okay with that because I know it inside and out. And I can control it. When you're investing in the stock market, unless you have inside information, you're reacting. It's very hard to be proactive, and that's why you need to allocate when you're in that field, because you got to spread that risk out over many different areas. But in real estate, I control it. I understand it, and the tax benefits just far outweigh. At this point in my career, I mean, that's what I look at now is like, what is this going to do to my taxable income at the end of the year? And everyone, likes to hate on Donald Trump for not paying taxes, but the whole system, the tax code is designed because they want you to invest in real estate, because real estate drives the economy. It's a huge economic driver. Just think about all the things that go into real estate. I mean, look at Renault. I mean, essentially it's a real estate investment with multiple businesses, and you got hundreds of employees that get paid, that go home and spend that money on their families and in their communities, and all the contractors and all the service people. And it's a huge economy. And that's what the government, that's why they put that in the tax code, because they want you to go out and they want you to stimulate the economy by buying real estate. So I'm happy to do it. I love it.
I'm happy to do what they said.
Thank you so much for all the wisdom that you brought today, and the energy and everything that you've taught us. Where can our listeners connect with you?
I'm on Facebook. I don't know my handle. If you'd have told me to be prepared for this, I could get it to you. I have a website, bradmullensells.com. That's BradMullensells.com. You can go on there. You could find some information on there about my real estate company and what we're doing. But Facebook is my social media, or my email, mullen485@gmail.com. You can reach out to me. I'm glad to talk to anybody about pretty much everything.
Very kind of you, buddy.
So
You're a heck of an entrepreneur, and I love the way you do it one step at a time. I'm glad you're thinking about how to get 2 wins out of every deal you're doing. That's so much like what we try to teach in the mindset of capital hacking. So thank you for doing all that in real life, man.
Thank you, Brad.
Great talking to you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Hey, bud. We'll talk to you soon.
Brother.
See ya.
Cheers.
Damn straight. We just got
buddy.
We got to the end of another great show, and everyone listening right now, you're the family and friends. Thanks for staying till the end.
That was so fun. And hey, hit the like, hit subscribe. We're here to serve you guys. That's why we're doing this show. Josh is not paying me. I'm doing this off of my quote unquote sweat equity, because we want to make a difference in your life. And then that ripple effect will continue to touch the world.
Hey, amen, brother. Please check us out on capitalhacking.com, all the social media threads. And yes, I know you've probably already sent this episode to one of your best friends. Thank you. We love you. Just go right into your iPhone, hit the plus symbol. We'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Share.